let's talk the National League, DRS. The Dodgers, yeah, they had lost their last 3 series, but they'll get some relief playing the Rockies this week. We still expect the Dodgers to be there at the end of the road and still a very short favorite to win the NL at plus 135. The Phillies and the Mets, contenders out of the National League East, no doubt. 6-1, their numbers. The Braves off to the terrible start, although an 8-4 victory yesterday in Toronto. Atlanta still in the bottom of the National League East standings at 5-11, plus 750. The Braves entered this year with the second best price to win the National League. Donnie, I think the conversation, though, based on market movement early, is those teams overperforming expectation in the National League West. Not named the Dodgers. The Padres, of course, best record in Major League Baseball, 14-3 and a 12-1 price to win the pennant. And the Giants, who you got to go even further down at 25-1. How do you make sense on those numbers from the pair for the National League West?
Yeah, some people would look at this odds board here at the FanDuel Sportsbook and not understand what they're looking at. They go, okay, the Dodgers we know is good. They took a lot of bets. They're still going to be good. They'll be fine. They won yesterday. Plus 135 makes sense. Then you go, wait a second. How would the Mets, Phillies, and the Braves at 6-1, 6-1, and 750 be so much in front of the San Diego Padres, who just might be the best team in Major League Baseball right now? Well, the thought process behind that, Ben, as you know, Mets, Phillies, and Braves, expectations is all 3 of those teams can win the NL East, which gives you the advantage once you get to the playoffs. You take a look at the Dodgers. They're just expected to walk away with that division no matter what the lead is for anybody else. Therefore, the Dodgers are heavily favored over the Padres, and the Padres are blocked behind the Mets, Phillies, and the Braves for those statistics here. It's early in the season. Teams will bounce back. They'll be fine. I'm mad at my Philadelphia Phillies at this point right now because they're getting typically good pitching, but nobody can hit at the plate. They're still sitting at a 6-1 price. If we overreact, Phillies should be 12-1, and the Padres should be plus 135. That's not the way it works. It's a long season. Things will play itself out. That's why even you see the Braves, like, how could the Braves be ahead of the Padres? Understand what I just explained. That's why.
Although Atlanta does not have the right side of history backing the Braves this year, no team, of course, has started 0-7 and made the Major League Baseball postseason. That was the start this year for Atlanta. You saw the Arizona Diamondbacks as well at 13-1. They're above 500, but they're losing ground by the day in the National League West. They are 9-7. American League odds up next. Just one final point, by the way, on the National League pennant odds before we turn our attention to the AL. Donnie, it's about 2.5 weeks into this Major League Baseball season, and one thing is becoming rather crystal clear around the National League. 5 of the 6 playoff spots, of course, the expanded postseason in the bigs in the National League, more than likely going to hail from the 2 divisions, the National League West and the National League East. That was the expectation entering this year, by the way. But outside of the divisional winner in the NL Central, the Cubbies the only team above 500. You really got to think that the 2 divisional winners and all 3 wild card spots coming from the NL East and the NL West.
Yeah, you would figure that, right? Because, again, we always forget about the central divisions. Even in the American League, same thing as the National League. They're not the heavy hitters. Usually they're on the coastlines there that you pay attention to. And, again, the money typically dictates that as well, and also at the trade deadline. If you want to acquire more bats and more pitching, what's that usually cost you, Ben? Not only prospects, but expanding your payroll, which you might already be up against, let's just say, that luxury tax threshold at that point. So no complaints from me at that point, and you're right. So it looks like it's probably going to be that as well.
Yeah, that probably is where things stand right now around MLB. Let's turn our attention over to the American League. The Yankees remain the favorites to win the AL pennant at plus 350. The Rangers $3 behind at plus 650. The Sox, despite being sub 500, plus 750. But, Donnie, it was the Orioles who entered this year with the second best price to win the AL pennant, only behind the Pinstripes. Baltimore off to a miserable start, a 6-9 record to begin this year. They have dropped 7 of their last 10. What do you make so far of those top 4 prices to win the American League pennant?
You know, it's kind of funny because you look at the roster, right? And even coming into the season, it was like, boy, the Yankees, Stanton's going to sit this one out. You lost your best pitcher, Garrett Cole. There's no way they can win the American League. But somebody has to take it from you if you're still the favorite. And I look at the American League, Ben, and it's early. You're going to have times that are changing and baseball teams that are going to step up. I understand that. does this look like the worst version of the American League that we've seen in 25 years? I'm just being honest. Like, yes, the Yankees are a good ball club, but this iteration, let's just say, of the Yankees 4 or 5 years ago, we're not talking about them as the best team in the American League. And now you take a look as best by far, and even with injuries here, and they're not playing that great of baseball, and still a plus 350 price for the Rangers at plus 650. There is talent in the American League, but that's my takeaway. Like, I want to look at the Yankees, like, they can't be the favorite. But Ben, go line by line and team by team and go, who's worthy of being the favorite over the Yankees? Nobody is. So the market is correct at the FanDuel Sportsbook, but it's just like your mind is playing tricks on, like, oh, the Yankees aren't that good. Okay, we'll pick another team. Oh, you love the Mariners. You're like, ooh, I don't know about that. Oh, you love the Royals. I don't know about that either. Oh, the Red Sox, they'll get it. Will they get it together? Like, that's what the mind tricks are playing in my head right now.
Donnie, I think it's a great point, and I think when you look at a lot of those teams considered a pennant contender either now or before the year, it's been a story of disappointing starts, and can they turn things around? Again, the Red Sox are 8-10 following giving up 16 runs to divisional foe, the Rays, in Tampa yesterday. The Orioles are 6-9. It has not been a great start. And Donnie, there was a reason that people were optimistic about the teams from the American League East, or maybe the Rangers out of the American League West being a pennant contender, because the Yankees took a huge blow before this baseball season even started, losing Garrett Cole for the entirety of this season. Now, the Yanks have a half-game advantage for the top spot in the AL East, but New York's just 9-7. They only allowed Bobby Witt and the Royals to have 2 hits yesterday, Witt compiling both for KC, including a solo shot inside Yankee Stadium. But the best record right now in the American League is the Detroit Tigers at a 10-6 mark. That's the best record in all of the AL at 10-6. DRS based on win percentage, that's .625 for Detroit. There are 4 records right now in the National League, 3 of them from the NL West, Padres, Giants, Dodgers, and the Mets atop the NL East, better than that of the Tigers. So, yes, in comparison, the AL is off to a down start to this season. A lot of times to figure things out. But to your point, the American League looks like the much weaker side right now in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, maybe the Yankees will be the benefit. Can you imagine if the Yankees started healthy this season? Giancarlo Stanton was in that lineup with a lot of these young kids batting around him, and Aaron Judge having a good season, and Garrett Cole being dominant on the mound to push the other starters down another peg. That would be fantastic to watch. But again, the Yankees will make some moves here, but it's just interesting where I had no inclination to say, I just want to bet the Yankees this year. Like, I didn't like them coming out of spring training because they were injured. But again, it just gets back to that, hey, well, who else are you going to pick? I like the Rangers, and I picked them preseason and say, you know what? They have the talent on that roster to win a pennant in the AL. And they still might do that, and they're second at the price point here at the FanDuel Sportsbook. The Boston Red Sox, I think they have a talented roster, and once it starts to heat up and those bats come around, I think they'll be just fine. Same thing with the Orioles. But nobody there's like, ooh, bury that team right away and say, you know what? I think the Blue Jays can come back. It looks like it's everybody, and then there's the Yankees this early in the season.
And Donnie, the debate for us prior to this year getting started with the injuries to the New York Yankees was the idea, does that present value on other teams around the bigs, around the American League, as the Yankees prices move back? I think you could argue now New York's kind of been steady right there, so maybe there is some buyback in the pinstripes, which is a crazy thing to say. Again, these are postseason prices. You win a pennant come October and early November, but you have to be in those positions. And yes, a lot can change over the long summer in 162 games. But based on the beginning, of course, you are trying to put yourself in those prime spots. My pick to win the American League this year, the Detroit Tigers at 11-1. That price down by $1.50 based on this strong start. Tarek Skubal looking like the reigning AL Cy Young winner in his last 2 outings for Detroit. Best record in the American League at 10-6. But Donnie, we could see a little bit of a changing of the guard. The Astros sub 500. Red Sox, Orioles sub 500. The Rangers still 2 games above 500 at 9-7. But the team with the best record right now in the AL West, it's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim at a 9-6 start. The Rangers, by the way, swept over the weekend by their divisional foes in the Mariners, who are back to an even 500, 8-8.
Yeah, I guess if there was one team that you should be able to trust, but you can never trust, isn't it the Seattle Mariners on a year-to-year basis? They have the
Ah,
pitching to beat anybody in Major League
for sure.
Baseball on a day-to-day. But then it's like, well, they keep losing games 3-1 because their offense can't wake up. I just wish, like the Seattle Mariners as an organization, go, we're just going to pay the best 5 bats on the free agent market in the next year and say, let's just give us an opportunity to actually win something here. So that's one of those teams you do want to watch out for because pitching does win. We're not going to get around that.
Yep. And they've got a great starting staff there in Seattle. Let's get you set for a full Tuesday slate around Major League Baseball. We have all 30 clubs in action, 15 total games. It is Jackie Robinson Day in MLB to honor one
42?
of the greats who, of course, what? 42, yeah, indeed. To break
42?
the racial
Yeah.
barrier, of course, in Major League Baseball. Does that mean everybody's wearing 42 today
I
on the
believe so.
jerseys? Right? Yeah,
I
that's
believe
how
so. Everybody gets
that
the 42
works.
out there. Yep.
Jackie Robinson Day in Major League Baseball. Donnie, we start with the best team in the bigs to begin this year. 14-3, a perfect 11-0 at home, tied for the 4th best home winning streak to begin a Major League Baseball season in history. That would be the Padres, who have been favored, by the way, in 9 of those 11 home victories. Not the case today at Petco Park as the Padres host the Cubs for the second game of this midweek set. Shota Imanaga gets the start for the Cubbies, and thus the updated numbers, minus 152 in favor of the Cubs. Over-under stands at 8. Early on, DRS, you said we should expect some offense today in San Diego. If we see offense, who does that favor? Could San Diego's home win streak be snapped at 11?
Analytics sometimes tough to use this early in the season, particularly with pitchers. We understand that. Once you get around till June, you have enough on every one of these pitchers to make really good decisions the rest of the summer. Major League Baseball statistics on hitters, usually right about a month in, 50 to 60 to 70 at bats. You'll be good to go and you get a good feel on these guys, whether they were hot, cold to start. It usually levels out. The reason I bring this up is you take a look at tonight in the Padres lineup tonight, going up against a lefty. Doesn't look that great. Fernando Tatis, terrible numbers against lefties. Bogarts, Gonzalez, Gurriel, Joe, and Diaz. There's only about 2 or 3 batters in that lineup that you can trust. Say, okay, how are you going to get runs out of this? And Shota Imanaga, you take a look at his first couple starts here, 23 and a third innings pitched, a 2.7 ERA. Absolutely fantastic. Let's flip it over to the Chicago Cubs on this side, going up against Randy Vasquez. We'll get to the pitchers in just a moment here from a side-by-side. Lineup looks decent here. Against right-handed pitching, they've done very well. Tucker's been great. Bush has been great. Pete Crow Armstrong's been great. Amaya's been great. Everybody else right in that little holding pattern. But hear me out on this. You see the 7.5, and you might say, well, Donnie, give me the ERAs of both of these pitchers. Look at Vasquez, 15 and 2/3 innings pitched, not a lot, 1.72. We just told you Imanaga was a 2.70. Stone cold under Petco Park. Hear me out on this. And again, limited innings that are pitched. You take a look here on the options with Imanaga, 2.70 ERA. That turns into a 4.97 xFIP number, which is a disaster, which means he's getting lucky and giving up way too many fly balls, not striking out enough guys, and putting too many runners on base. Let's get to Randy Vasquez, 15 and 2/3 innings pitched, a stellar 1.72 ERA, but look at the xFIP number, 6.32. 2 of the worst analytical pitchers on the mound tonight based on early season statistics at Petco tonight. So again, it's very early to use these judgments, but you can see the ERA is there, which people go, oh, they're really good form, but they're getting a little bit lucky early in the season. 2 lineups I think can do some damage, and by damage, Ben, what are we talking about? 3 runs for the Padres, 3 runs over here for the Cubs, and you're right in that ballpark. You head off to extras in style at that point. I do think we get a total in this game over the 7.5 as opposed to taking a side in this one.
Analytically, DRS, as you mentioned, Shota Imanaga 2-1 this year with a sub-3 ERA at a 2.70. Only gave up 2 total earned runs in his first 3 starts of this year, including against the Padres at home in early April, just over a week and a half ago at Wrigley. He went 7 1/3. He only allowed a single earned run on 4 hits. Cubs won that game against San Diego, but in the most recent start for Imanaga against the Rangers, did allow 5 at Wrigley in 5 innings of work in multiple long balls. Total work at its way up. It was 7.5 earlier this morning. The over-under now stands at 8. DRS, your Philadelphia Phillies on a little bit of a slump right now. The Phils at home today as a minus 162 home favorite against, Justin Verlander and the San Francisco Giants. Jesus Luzardo gets the start for Philadelphia. Over-under stands at 8. The Phils won the weekend series against the Dodgers now 2 weekends ago. First team to beat LA this year. They took two of 3. They were 7-2. They have now dropped 5 of their last 7, including yesterday's opener against SF, who plated 10 in that 10-4 win. As you look at this game, how important is it for the Phillies to get back on track?
It's very important, but also understand this. Like yesterday, I'm like, you know what? I thought the better pitcher on the mound was on the opposite side with the Giants yesterday. In Taijuan Walker, as we said, hadn't given up an earned run after the first day. I'm like, I'm an idiot, man. These numbers are too early in the season. Only to wait just another 3 or 4 batters here, and tattooed was Taijuan Walker yesterday. And again, that 0 ERA and that xFIP in the mid-4s, that really paid attention to it yesterday because they clocked him around. Fast forward to today. You take a look at Jesus Luzardo, who's been fantastic. And the pitcher on the card today that you probably could trust the most might be him. And Luzardo, you take a look at 18 innings pitched this season, a 150 ERA, which you said, Donnie, well, why are you looking at ERA? It's just a comparative to what that xFIP number is, which is a 2.46, which is really, really good. He should hold the ballpark here tonight, which means balls won't be flying out, high strike rates. He looks good. Flip it over to Verlander on the opposite side. Here's where sometimes your mind does play tricks on you as well. Verlander lining up in this game with an ERA of 6.92 through 13 innings. Phillies should have an easy one, but hold the horses here. A 3.74 xFIP number on him against a struggling lineup. But if I were to put my money on the team tonight, it's probably going to be the Philadelphia Phillies. Do I want to pay a minus 150 or higher? Not necessarily. But they have the better pitching matchup, and also, at least the numbers early season coming back, the Phillies have done very well against right-handed pitchers, and maybe Verlander struggling just a bit. The Phillies should bounce back, but that doesn't mean bounce back with like 7 runs on the board with an easy victory. Bounce back might be 4-2 tonight, Philadelphia Phillies.
Verlander has not recorded a decision in 3 outings this year, has a 6.92 ERA. Still a very notable name, but at 42 years old in Major League Baseball season number 20, not exactly the Justin Verlander that we know. San Francisco off to a great start this year, a 12-5 record at the moment. The Braves trying to turn things around, win number 5 last night on the road up in the Great White North, 8-4 the victory over the Blue Jays. Today, it's basically a pick'em. Spencer Schwellenbach looking to continue his sensational start to 2025 against Kevin Gausman and Toronto. Total 7.5. Donnie will give you a pick, and we'll break down a few more MLB games on this full Tuesday slate up next here on the Early Line. We continue to go all around MLB. 15 games, all 30 teams in action, a full Tuesday slate in the bigs. DRS, the Atlanta Braves, continuing and needing to stack up wins after the 0-7 start. They've won 5 of their last 9, including the opener in the 6th yesterday over the Blue Jays, 8-4. One of the bright spots for a struggling season to begin for Atlanta, Spencer Schwellenbach. He is on the bump today against the Jays with the Braves an ever so slight favorite, but basically a pick'em. What is your prediction for what we see in Toronto?
38 degrees up in the 6th tonight. Good thing they got a dome there, so that's not going to factor in. Neither will the windy conditions at about 17 to 18 miles an hour if that roof was open, but it's not. But understand this. Spencer Schwellenbach on the early season in Major League Baseball has been nothing short of fantastic. Take a look at his walk rate, 2.9%, K rate, 28%, ISO power number against, 060, and a weighted on base percentage of 180, ground ball percentage, 58%. Absolutely spectacular. Now let's take a look at some of those analytical numbers. 20 innings pitched so far in this early season for Schwellenbach. You look at the ERA, which again isn't an analytical number. It's just a baseline for people that say, you know what? Can you mix that analytics in with some regular numbers we understand? 0.45 ERA. How does that translate to his xFIP number? 2.46. Spectacular. Take a look at that lineup tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays and just the ISO power numbers. And you say, what's isolated power mean? Extra base hits that these guys can hit. 165, 170 is the normal average number in Major League Baseball. Against right-handed pitching to start this Major League Baseball season for Toronto, Bichette, 091. Vladdy Jr., 062. Santander, 087. Kirk, 0-28. Wagner, 0-27. Clement, 0. 0-48 for Nathan Lukes. Roden, 0-59. The only guy positive in the middle of that lineup is Andres Jimenez at a 275 number. So you're telling me one guy is positive with ISO power number out of 9 at-bats against a kid that's absolutely cruising early season? I don't even need to see the opposite side with Gaussman. I'm not looking towards the Toronto Blue Jays, only towards the Braves for me.
Vladdy Jr. yesterday, 0 for the dish, 0 for 4. His average before that, though, at the end of the weekend was 302. But, of course, for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., after getting the stellar 14-year, $500 million contract, he still hasn't hit a home run this year. Goose egg, 0. It's Dinger Tuesday. Probably not going to happen against Spencer Schwellenbach, at least as we would think. 20 innings of work this year. 10 base knocks, 1 total earned run, a 1-0 record, a .45 ERA for Schwelly. DRS in the American League American League West, two teams have a winning record. The Texas Rangers, 9-7, your pick to win the American League pennant before the year. And who? The Angels at 9-6, the best record atop the division right now. A divisional duel today in Arlington. Tyler Mahle gets the start for the Rangers. Yusei Kikuchi on the other side for the Halos. Texas a home favorite at -120. What happens tonight in the Lone Star State?
I'm looking at some good runs in the Lone Star State tonight, and also maybe a stack is available because you just look at the Angels, and typically it's like, hey, man, they're like the White Sox. Just look at their lineup. Everybody stinks outside of one player here. But based on their performance against right-handed pitchers early in the season, everybody's really good except Tim Anderson in the 9-hole. So you have 8 straight batters with plus ISO power number and weighted on base percentage against right-handed pitching. That's where you should start to look first. Last year, Tyler Mahle, 56 batters he's faced, not a lot to look at. So fast forward to this year, he almost has as many batters faced this year than he did entirety of last year. So if you focus on this current season right now, 53 batters faced, you say, boy, look at this. An ISO power number against 065, a weighted on base percentage of 196. That's fantastic. But his K rate is low and his walk rate is a little bit high. So take a look at some of those numbers through 13 2/3 innings. Again, not a lot to work with here, but a 1.32 ERA that you might be like, boy, that's spectacular. That xFIP number, which factors everything else in, 4.51. So you're looking at the Angels that should have a pretty good night at the dish. Flip it over to the other side with Yusei Kikuchi. Not a great start so far to the season for him. A 5 ERA, but a 4.44 xFIP number, which is still elevated through 18 innings pitched. A left-handed pitcher struggling with right-handed batters. And what are you going to face most times here, Ben? Corey Seager, the middle of that lineup, a lefty. Everybody else will be right-handed batters. Why can't we get runs down in the Lone Star State tonight between these two?
8.5 is that total, DRS. A big one for Luis Castillo tonight in Cincinnati. His first start against the Reds in his career. Spent the first 5.5 years of his career in the bigs, of course, as the ace for the Reds. It's basically a pick'em tonight in a great American ballpark between the Mariners and the Reds. What do you like?
Yeah, interesting one is you find out because Lodolo does have really good statistics on the season. And again, he's going up against the Mariners, who tend not to hit anybody lefty or righty at this point. I don't have a great feel for this one, but also 50 degrees, which is cooler temperature. But how about 12-mile-an-hour winds blowing up to dead center field? That's at least a good thing.